this week's project was based on doing a AI answer engine, just like ChatGPT, but for this example or for this project, we were looking at Perplexity AI and making something very similar. So I'm just gonna do a very brief explanation of what the code is because it is 3:41 a.m. and I have been working on this for quite a long time. And yeah, so I'm gonna do a brief explanation. So at the top we have all the imports and what we need. So what I want to point out is the web scraping. The web scraping from Cheerio. This is like it fetches the HTML content using the provided URL, and it extracts this the content like heading, paragraphs, metadata, and text. All of this using the Cheerio function here. So it applies to specific domains and for sites like Wikipedia and GitHub, and Medium, and all of that. So moving on, we have the content validation. And like I said, just extracting a couple of things here. So we have the content validation. So right here, and this is where I am getting a couple of errors. I'm not going to lie. So in this case, I am using Zod to validate incoming JSON data to ensure the proper structure with the messages and user inputs and to validate the URL. So I am currently having an issue with the Zod library itself, which I can go to I'm not going to go to the library because that is actually very far and very tedious to explain, but I am having current issues with that, which I am trying to fix, and I will probably fix, but just not on time for the deadline of the project. So this is just the content validation itself. And then we can go down here a little bit and we have the timeout and request handling, timeout and error handling, if you will. So it fetches the request and it's limited to 10 seconds using the abort controller. So moving down, we have the AI integration itself. And this is where we send the request to the Grok API, which it is free, right? So we can use it as many times as we want. But in the case that it was not free, there is a solution for that we need to do, right? So then we have the output, and if there is an error, we display it. So as I mentioned before, our AI or our API might not always be free. And I want to give a huge shout out to Faison who explained this to me, which is actually something that I did not know. And it's if you do not have a private API key or a private API, someone can go on your website, go to your network, and spam your API like over and over again. And that will mean that you will be calling upon your API and it will cost you a lot of money, which if you're not on a free version is going to be very tedious and not a fun bill to pay. So he explained to me that we need to cover it up. And this is where we cover it up in the middleware. So in the middleware itself, we can go through it, not line by line, but in, just explain it a little bit. So we have the Redis connection, and it connects to an Upstash Redis database using the environmental variables. And we have in this case the Upstash Reddit and the REST URL and the token as well. So then we can go to rate limiting configuration. And for this one, it just configures a sliding window rate limiter and allows only to 10 requests per 60 seconds to ensure that nobody is spamming your API, right? But then we have the middleware logic, and we can go to the middleware logic. And this extracts the user's IP address from the user's header. And if the request targets an API endpoint, it checks the rate limit. And if the rate limit exceeds, it returns too many requests, which is, just in case someone tries to spam it again. So, and then we have error handling and we have route matching. So I can actually show you guys what my project is looking like. So I'm just going to run this, and I do have this set up right here. So I'm just going to reload this. So my messages are going through. I can do testing, for example. They are going through, but the only problem is the validation itself, which is the Zod. And as I mentioned before, this is in the library and the index of it, which is very, very hard to fetch. So we can literally go on node modules, and then this is which one's Zod. So this is the last one. And then we can go to library and then index MJS. And I have it right here, actually, and line 587. So right here, this line is giving me an error, but it is a hefty amount of code, which I'm not going to be really dabbling into, not for this video, and I do not think I can finish on time because, as I mentioned, it is very early in the morning, and it is my brain is fried. I'm not gonna lie. So thank you for tuning in for this week's project. I can't wait to show next week's as well.